Most people really overcomplicate stock charts, so I'm going to show you how to read any company's charts in 2 minutes, and we're going to do it by stacking an indicator on one over the other so that you can get a complete picture. Let's do it. We are in Interactive Brokers. I'm in my paper trading account, so this is simulated just because I don't want to show all my stuff on the internet. We're going to just do NVIDIA as an example because everyone knows it, it's really relevant, and I mean, it's easy to practice with. So I always use a 3-month chart, which means that every single little tick here is a 1-day interval. So you can see 29th of Jan over here, 30th, 2nd of Feb, 3rd of Feb. So this is the basic price line. And what I want you to understand is how much this thing wriggles. So look how much it's wriggling. This is something that I never knew when I started investing. I always thought that it was like constantly going up. And then I got this big shock when my stocks were like down. But if you look over a time frame, you can see NVIDIA has grown like crazy. So this is basically all that I'm really interested in with the price. You know, you're just getting an idea of what is the price, how has it moved, what's the overall trend. So I'm going to add another layer to this now. You'll see here that the chart got a little bit more complicated, but don't worry, it's going to be super simple. So all I added is something called a moving average. So you can see the green line is a 50-day moving average, and the red line is a 200-day moving average. So basically what this does is it just takes the average stock price, because like I said, it's really wriggly. So it takes the average stock price over 50 days, the green line, and 200 days, the red line. And basically how I use this is to interpret trends. So you can see over here, if you look at this, over the last 50 days, the price has been, the 50-day average has been above the 200-day average, the red line. And you can see it's been growing. So you could say, okay, well, it's dipping down. And this is through all the volatility, but it looks like we might be going into a section where NVIDIA starts to drop, if you see this trend, right? Because the little price just fluctuates around it. And you can see that the 50-day is getting closer to the 200-day. So we can see that it's kind of starting to dip. Another thing that you can do is you can see if stocks are overvalued. So not only is this giving us just long-term trends, like overviews of where the price is moving. So you could say over here, it's bullish, right? If the green line's above the red line's bullish, the 50-day average is above the 200, so it's in an upward movement. So that's how I interpret it. If the price, you can see that these also act as floors. So here, for example, the price wriggles and it goes down below the red line, the 200-day moving average, and below the 50-day, and it wriggles up. And you'll see it keeps doing this. It acts as a floor. So if we put in a little line here, we can see that this line is acting like a floor. Every time it does this, it bounces back up. Here's a little floor. And then this is a bigger floor, the 200-day. You can see like this is a huge volatility thing over here, and it goes below the 200-day. So we can see like it's bouncing up off these lines. One other thing that we can also see here is if the stock price goes really high, like over here, like this is another prime example. This means that it's overvalued because it's always averaging around these lines, the 50-day and the 200-day. So you can see the price over here is wildly high compared to the 50-day. So there was something here that caused a huge price increase, and it's going to go down again. It's similar to a ceiling. So when you look at these, basically what I'm looking at is I'm seeing overall trends. So I'm saying green line is above red, so it looks like it's going to climb. It's going to continue climbing. Here it looks like they're merging, so we could go into it's either going to bounce up again or we're going to go into a kind of period where it dips down a little bit. So that's how I'd view it. Also, it's not in a ceiling zone, and it's kind of in a floor zone. So you can see over here, it's down close to this line. So we see it bouncing up again. So this is how I read it, basically. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add another layer, because all we're doing is building an idea. We're building a hypothesis of like what we think is going to happen and what we think is happening. Okay, so let's add one more layer. Now we just added in the MACD. So basically what this does and how I interpret it is it just identifies trends and basic buying positions and opportunities. So what you'll see is if we go back to the stock price, it wriggles, right? But every time the MACD is red, you can see the stock price is dipping. So if you look, keep your eyes up here while I go along here. You can see we're in the red in the MACD, and you can see the price is dropping. Then it goes green, the price goes a little bit up, and then it's red, and then green. So we always want to be in our 3-month. So you can see over here, whenever it's green, it tends to rise. Whenever it's red, it tends to drop. So the way we interpret this is basically, if you look over here, it's red, but the lines are touching, right? So the blue line is touching this orange line, and we're about to go into a green zone. So we can say with reasonable certainty that the red zone's finished, we're in a green zone. So now is a very good time to buy because it looks like it's going to be going up, right? Every time it's green on the MACD, it climbs. Every time it's red, the price drops. So basically, this would be a good time to buy, right? So you could buy it and you could say with reasonable certainty that it's going to climb. And that's how I'd view this. So basically, if you wanted to kind of time the market to an extent, what you could do is you could buy every time the blue line reaches the orange line, like this, every time this red zone ends, and then sell when it goes back down, right? When it's at its kind of peak. So this is how you can interpret this graph. And then we zoom out and it gives us a better idea. So now we're saying like, okay, so it's still showing very strong bullish signals because we've got the green line above the red, so it's still technically growing, right? And we can see it's about to go into like a little growth phase again. So now we're going to add in another layer just to give us a fuller picture. Now I've added the RSI line in, and this is just a momentum indicator that measures the speed of sales and purchases of the stocks. So the way that we view it is basically there's this 70 line and this 30 line. So it's basically telling us if the stock is overbought or oversold. So you can see if this RSI line ever goes over 70, it's overbought. So you're going to expect the line to start going down again, and this is indicating a price drop. So if we match this with the MACD, you can see it goes up, the price goes up, up, up. Then this line is above 70. So now we're getting like really overbought, and there's pressure for it to go down again. So you can see it goes into a red zone here, and the stock price matches it, and it starts to go down. And if we can find an example over here, it's the same thing. It's oversold. So if it's down here and under 30, there's a likelihood that it's going to go up. So the way that I view this is if it's in the middle, you're saying, okay, that's fine. There's room for it to climb, and there's room for it to drop. If it's up here, it's probably a bad time to buy because it's overbought. It's really above this 70 line, and vice versa. If it's below here, you can say, well, it's actually a great time to buy because this thing's probably going to go up. So it's just giving us another picture of what we think is going to happen. So over here, we're like, okay, well, this is in the middle, so this has room to climb. So based on this, it's looking strong still with the green above, right? We've got our MACD telling us that it's probably going to go up, and we've got this line in the middle saying that there's room for it to climb and there's room for it to drop. So to get a fuller picture, let's add one more indicator. Now, the final indicator that I use is OBV, which is on balance of volume. And basically, this is indicating the volume of buying and selling of the stocks. And basically, this confirms price trends because the volume normally precedes the price. It normally comes before that. So basically, this is just confirming trends again. So we can see the volume it's generally going up over this period. So we've seen the prices going up, so is the volume. And the sharper the increase in the volume, generally the sharper in the fluctuations in the price. So if you see this dip down like this, you're going to see a subsequent price dip. So the more aggressively this goes up, it's confirming that trend. The price is going to go up basically aggressively as well, right? So this is exactly how I view this. So now you've got an overall picture. Let's do one more stock that's completely different to NVIDIA, and we'll put it all together, and you'll see how we can read it in a minute, 30 seconds. Okay, so this is Uber. I just chose it randomly, and we're going to put all these charts together just to interpret what we think is going to be happening. So you can see over here with the price line, Uber's been relatively flat up and down, and then we had a good climb, and then you can see it's dipped over this period. Okay, so we can see as well that the price is deeply below the 200-day, and it's also below the 50-day. So we can see there was a drop in the price here, and it brought it down below the 50-day and the 200-day. So like I said before, this is generally a floor region, so we can expect it to bounce up. So short term, I'm expecting it to go back above or around this 50-day. Whether it bounces up to this 200, we don't know right now, because this is just a longer time frame, an average over a longer time frame. But this is giving me a good idea that there's a chance that it bounces up over here. So we could see something like this. So now this is showing a trend that it's in a kind of bearish situation, right? The 50-day is below the 200-day. So that's quite a bearish signal. It's kind of saying like this thing's been dropping for a period. It climbs here, and now it's been dropping. So that's a bearish signal, right? It's like this might not be like the best time to buy, we could see kind of a drop. Now we go to the MACD to give us a better picture, right? We can see over here, this is an indicator that I use to kind of when to get in, when to get out. So you can see now it's in a little growth phase. It's in that green phase. You can see the price went up and this was red, and you can see it's kind of tapering down and going back into kind of a red MACD region. So this is telling me that it's giving a more of a signal that, you know, maybe it might actually be going down right now. Like it might be kind of flat or going down. We've got RSI, it's in the middle, so it's not overbought or oversold. It's got room to move up or down, and we've got on-balance volume that is basically showing you momentum. So we can see people who are buying, there was a volume over here, and now there's volume downwards, which is confirming a trend. So based on this, my gut would say I think it's going to go down over the next few days. So, and the reason why, it's because the MACD is telling us that, basically. We've got room for down and up. There's no clear signal of if it's going to climb or not there. And over here, we've got momentum telling us that it's traveling downwards. There's a little uptick here, but it's too soon to tell. So my gut says that we might have like a flattish day or maybe a little climb, and then we might see another kind of dip. So this is exactly how I interpret the graphs. Most people make it so complicated. I hope that this is easy. Watch it a few times and you'll be reading charts like a pro. If you want my 60-minute investing plan that shows you exactly how I make thousands of dollars every single month for the stock market, then comment stocks below and I'll send it to you. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.